in very difficult matchups, or I guess this is my 10.8 Teemo guide and rundown on how to build Teemo. And chat, you can do whatever you want to. You can say hi YouTube, woo, first YouTube video. Yeah, we're filming this for YouTube to explain to you guys how to play Teemo. I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm an EU West players, challenger, 700 LP right now. My name is Alan234 and I've been maining Teemo since Season 4. And now I've made this mobile fire guide to help people play Teemo. And so let's just get right into it. I'll try to keep it pretty short. So first of all, I want to explain to you, I just want something that is very simple to follow and that you can always apply, because Teemo is a champion with a lot of experimentation and a lot of different builds. Like, people ask me, oh, what about Row of Ages? What about Blitzbane? What about Sarah's Embrace? And you know, like, maybe there's some fringe cases where it's somehow applicable, but honestly, as a guide, you guys just need one loadout that you can always use. So let's start with the runes. I think Electrocute and Airy are stuff that you can always run. Okay? PTA is something that you mostly run against tanks. Phase Rush is something that you do only in very specific matchups, which I've mentioned down below in my matchup guide. And Grasp is something that you can run if you are in very difficult matchups, or if you're not that confident on Teemo. Meaning, if you're just beginning to play Teemo, just go Grasp every game, every matchup, and you will be completely fine. Else, I prefer Electrocute for the burst, for the 1v1 potential, etc. But going Airy, especially if you max Q, is fine. PTA is a bit of a mean, but in some matchups like Maokai, you can do it as well. But again, if you want to just do one thing, it's fine if you always go Electrocute or always go Airy. Just focus on one thing and learn how to play the game. Don't worry about runes, don't worry about anything else, okay? Then Summoner spells. Flash and Ignite is always good. Flash and Ghost you can sometimes run. Mostly against stuff like Tryndamere or Darius, you know, people that want to ghost onto you and stick onto you. Well, you can counter that by ghosting as well. However, you could also just go Ignite and try to kill them. Then you can also go Exhaust, but Exhaust is a bit awkward to use and a bit more difficult to make use of. You could run it if they have a lot of assassins, and in a team fight you would want to help people. But mostly Teleport, again, you can also run, but I just recommend go Flash Ignite, go Electrocute or Airy, you're fine, okay? Don't worry about it. If you want something more complicated, read the guide. Starting items, I would recommend you, if you want to, just always go Doran's Ring. Boots of Speed are sometimes good, Darius, Aatrox, etc. But if you really want to, you can just force Doran's Ring every matchup and it's not going to be bad. Then, you want boots pretty early. So that you can kite, so that you can dodge, and so that you can escape jungle ganks. So I usually like to rush Sorcerer Shoes. If they don't go any MR, then it's also really powerful because of the magic penetration. You're gonna be dealing a lot of damage. Berserker Greaves are really good if you go PTA, but only go them if you go PTA, else you will feel a bit awkward in team fights. Boots of Swiftness are really cheap and really good. I really like to rush them nowadays because it gives me outplay potential with better movement. However, if you're a beginner, probably just go Sorc Shoes so that you have the damage. Ninja Tabai you can sometimes run, you know, like the Jaxes, the Fioras, the Aurelias, etc. But it's pretty situational and very defensive. Hello Demby. Even during a guide you have enough time to explain or to say hi to a chat. So these two items are your holy grail, okay? You want to be always building these two items. They are extremely good and will make your life easier. However, in a lot of matchups, it's really helpful to build some defensive items first. Wait, did someone host me? I didn't see any raid notification, so I'm really sorry if that happened. Great guide video. So, in some videos, in some matchups, like for example the Akali, Ruby Crystal and Null Magic Mantle are really good. So I would recommend going them if you find yourself struggling a lot in some matchups. So for example, Seekers is really good against all of the AD bruisers, you know, the Pantheons, the Camille's, the Aatroxes. It can be really useful. I feel like going Seekers and Ninja Tabai is delaying your core items too much though, so you will have to decide on certain defensive items. You want to be building mostly damage. Now Voidstaff is a really efficient item, and once they start building magic resistance, you definitely want it. You usually honestly don't have the time to go Rabadons, but if you get Giga Fit, then sure, you can go Rabadons. Banshees and Hourglass are situational items. For example, oftentimes you can just finish Hourglass when you build Seekers, and that's pretty good because it also gives you CDR, it refreshes the stopwatch, etc. Also, Zhonya is good because you can wait out your poison and kill someone while you're in the Zhonya. Banshee is sometimes good if they have like Zoe or something and they just pop you if you don't take it. Then all of these items you can sort of go them, like you can go Teemo jungle, you can go Teemo support, you can go Teemo tank, but it's not good. Just don't do it, okay? This is gonna fall off like crazy. This is not that efficient and hard to pull off. Like, just don't do it, okay? Just don't do it. But you can do it. Experimentation is there, but just don't do it. Oblivion Orb and Morellonomicon, they're really weird items. Yeah, someone saying in chat, it's also really good, for example, against Tryndamere. You blind Tryndamere, then you go into Zhonya, and then you can blind him again. And so he can never really get damage off on you. So Oblivion Orb and Morellonomicon are a bit weird. Because they're really powerful items, but once the enemy starts building magic resistance, they fall off really hard. So I tend to not build them anymore, because usually it delays the core items, Landry's and Nashor's, a bit too much. And usually by the time they build MR, I want to be having a Void Staff already, and I feel really awkward with an Oblivion Orb. So it's a really hard power spike, especially with Sorceres, but I don't really like it that much nowadays. Luden's Echo I started to like a lot more. For example, you could go Landry, Nashor, Voidstaff, and then if they don't have, like, if you're not forced to go Banshees or Zhonyas, then Luden's Echo is honestly a pretty good, like, 4th, 5th, 6th item. Because, the mana it gives you is really insane. In my runes, unless you go mana flow banned, you will have really big mana problems. So my chat is hinting me. You will have really big mana problems. So the 600 mana and the unique passive it gives you will deal with all of your mana problems. Yeah, he went Lost Chapter. Dan in the LEC went Lost Chapter into Luden's Echo, and I think he really inted. I even gave him Teemo coaching, but he still inted his build really badly. Like, it's not a first item. You always land Landry's, Nashor's, and you could even build it as a third item. Like, I'm starting to like Luden's a lot more, and maybe one day it will go into the afterwards tier, but for now, you'll be fine just getting Voidstaff and Rabadons. Then Woods End, sometimes AP matchups, cinched, PTA. You can go just like Blade of the Ruined King if you're sort of going AD because your team is full AP, but like, besides Luden's, all of these items are very situational. Obviously if they have like Yumi, Soraka, Vladimir, Maokai, then sure, Morellonomicon is pretty good. Only good if they have huge healing, but again, The problem with Morello isn't that it's a bad item, it's that it delays all the other good items that you could have instead. So usually you can force this build pretty effectively. Like maybe instead of you could get Void Staff third, then Ludens. Like you can pretty much force this. Someone in chat is asking Gunblade. I don't like it. It falls off too hard. After the mid game, it's way less useful, and you will still have delayed your 2 giga strong items. So like when you're smurfing and ending the game quickly, it's fine. But you're basically saying I won't have scaling. And the healing isn't that big if you just have Ravenous Hunter. So, with the skill order, you go... I max E in most matchups, however, maxing Q is also a possibility. The problem with maxing Q is that the mana cost increases from 70 to 90. So, eventually, once you're doing shrooms and blinding people, it is a bit awkward to do because you just run out of mana. For example, I forgot what I was talking about. But yeah, when you have shrooms and you blind and you move quick, etc., you're just gonna run out of mana and you don't have mana flow bans, so it's gonna be really rough for you. So in chat he's asking about the Genius Hunter with Gunblade and Zonya. I've never tried it. But again, like it feels like doing something creative that might work, but really is just going to it's just going to be suboptimal. So in a lot of matchups, actually, maxing W is a lot stronger than you might expect. Like going to 26 improved movement speed, you can zoom like crazy. So in some matchups where I think you can't kill him and the blind is useless anyways, like for example Maokai, Ornn, all the tanks, maxing W second is pretty good. Like against Ornn, Maokai I max E and then W. Against mages I would usually grab points into Q, and against everyone else I would usually go E. However, I have been taking a Q max against bruisers like Camille, Fiora, Aatrox, etc. and it has been working pretty well overall. So maybe I will rethink my stance on always maxing E. But again, as a guide, I'll make a summary at the very end, but you can really just force the same build every game and you'll be fine. It's maybe going to be 95% as effective as the optimal build, but you don't need the perfect optimal build every time. Sometimes it's just fine to go the standard. So, I'm not going to be explaining every single matchup here, but you will find the link to the guide in the description, and I'm going to be adding to all of the different matchups over here so you can see how you need to play it and specifically what I recommend. So although you can hard force this build, here I explained that, for example, Renekton, maybe going Q and Seekers is going to be good. I don't know what I actually wrote and now I'm scared of reading it. So the rest of the guide is basically a small introduction and that you can experiment if you want to, and the pros and cons of Teemo, but I don't want this in this sort of guide. Instead, before I finish, I just want to give you a few tricks. So how you actually play Teemo once you're in game. So Teemo has a very broken passive. The passive seems very simple, you know, going into stealth, but what a lot of people forget is that you can you can go into the bush when you're getting ganked, and a lot of junglers, like for example Elise or even Trundle, when he knocks you up, he doesn't actually reveal you. He will reveal you, Like for example, Trundle E, it will reveal you once it bumps you away in the lane, like if he finds you with sweepers, but it doesn't in the bush. So a lot of junglers, once they gank, like let's say you're playing against an Elise and Jax, right? You would think he has a lot of gank setup with his E, and then Elise flash E's you and goes on you. But if you just go into the bush, they don't actually have spells to kill you. Jax only has his E, which is on a very high cooldown and doesn't deal any damage. And Elise only has her W, which you could still dodge. So a lot of the time what you can do is you just push, you get the jungler to come top, and then you chill. Also, what I want you to remember is that CSing is really, really important. Like, in a lot of games, just having more CS means you have more gold, means you are stronger, means you just win the 1v1s, you win in the side lane, etc. So if you CS well and push, you deny him CS, you go into the enemy jungle, you take Krugs, you take Gromp, you take Wolves, you take Raptors, you take all of their camps, then they're going to be behind in XP and gold, and eventually you'll just be way stronger. And because Nashers and Landries are such powerful items and extremely gold efficient on Teemo, you're going to be very powerful very quickly. So your main priority should be CSing, even though Teemo is a lane bully and can harass. The problem I have with harassing is that a lot of champions nowadays can just go second wind and Doran shield and you sort of heal them. So a lot of the time it's not really worth it to give up CS to harass someone else. Also, Teemo has very little tools to break a freeze. So for example, Irelia or Camille starts freezing on you, you have to call your jungler. It's literally unplayable if the enemy freezes on you. But again, if you're lower elo, you might not have to worry about it. So with my build, you deal a lot of damage. So first of all, you can just shroom the wave and with Ignite kill them. Or you can do the one trick that always works. I think I'm gonna go into game to explain it to you guys. You can go into stealth and kill any non-suspecting target. So if you want a bit more in detail information, you can check the guide again. Like for example, I have notes explaining everything, or I tell everything in my matchup guides. But right now, I just got the spontaneous decision. I'll show you the one trick. It's really simple in practice tool. And we will include this in the guide, and I hope that it is useful for you. Yeah. I know. So, let's go into loading screen real quick. The guide doesn't have Tryndamere. Okay, well, I'm gonna add that. Don't worry. Thank you. I'll do that right after. So, I'll level up a bunch to like level 11. Usually at level 11 you have finished your sword boots. Okay, I can. You will have sword shoes here and maybe some components for the Nashers. And then usually what you do, Vladimir is missing. Okay, well usually you would have 3 points in Q. That was a mistake. Where the... Okay, they changed that recently. So a lot of the time, you know, like, they'd be standing over there, or they'd be coming to lane, and you do something very simple. You shroom here. So you never want to shroom in here, because obviously the minions, they're gonna walk into you. Obviously it could be good if he walks with the minions, but a lot of the time it's just gonna proc. And then they'll be like, what? A Teemo shroom is here. Well, I have to activate sweepers or pink ward, or he might be here. So a lot of the time it's better to put them here. And then, even if he doesn't walk straight into you and continues walking like that, once you go onto him, he will panic into the sides and try to run away, and that's where you will get him. Like, see, the minions will walk, like he will probably walk by here, and then you just ignite him. And with Landries and Sorceries, Ignite, Electrocute, and all those other items, you will always kill them. So I've had a lot of games. Oh, I have Glacial, interesting. I've had a lot of games where the Felios would have a 1k shutdown. I just stand here, he would go to lane, and I just kill him. And then we get a 1k shutdown, we use our very gold efficient items, and we win. And the last thing I want to show is here. Very often, right, you will push out the wave, obviously. And then when you see someone here, like you can even ward here, so right, as soon as you see someone walk here, you just instantly go into your bush. Sometimes I'd even flash into the bush, and then you'd be safe. Another cool thing is you can actually TP here. You could TP to your tower and they do not see the TP. So they would still think that you're in that bush. They do not see the TP animation. And the very last thing I want to tell you as in-game tips is that level 6 your shrooms don't deal a lot of damage. So it's better to use them in choke points like here. So that when a jungler comes, his gank means that he will run into them. Thus, by Teemo. Or you want to be using your level 1 shrooms to clear the waves. Usually one auto level 1 shroom and one auto attack will always clear the backline, while when you have Landries and level 2 shroom you basically one shot the entire front line. And yeah, I think that is the entire YouTube guide. So thanks a lot, and if you have questions, ask them in the comments. Otherwise, I'll soon be posting VODs of me playing with commentary on this channel. I hope you enjoyed the guide explanation, and see you. Okay, so